And our opening words are by Gary Kowalski. In this quiet hour, may our spirits be renewed. In this gathering of friends, may we be ready to extend ourselves to those in need, and with trust receive the hand that is offered. In this community of ideals, may we remember the principles that guide us and reflect upon those things that give meaning to our lives, renewing our dedication to serve the highest that we know. In this time of worship, may our minds be open to new truth and our hearts be receptive to love as we give thanks for this life we are blessed to share. This prayer is by Eric Walker Wickstrom. Spirit of life, known by many names, yet by no name fully known, we gather today with hopes and dreams, and also with fears and wounds. May we be reminded that all things come and go, that today's joys and today's sorrows will in time give way to those of tomorrow, and that those of us who have strength to share today ought to do so while we can, and that those who are in need ought to allow ourselves to receive. For tomorrow those roles might well be reversed. Spirit of life, Mother and Father of us all, help us to remember those who are not here with us today, those who need what we have found here, and those who have what we here need. May we always be open to growth and change, to movement, to grace. In the name of all that is holy, and in all the holy names that have ever been uttered, and those that have not even yet been imagined, we say, blessed be, shalom, and amen. Reading this morning is by my friend and colleague Kelly Wiseman Asruth Jackson, and it is entitled The Church That Doesn't Matter. In the church that doesn't matter, there are no quarrels, no arguments, and no one ever says anything they regret at the meeting to discuss the sanctuary's new paint color. There is nothing to inspire such passionate intensity because none of the decisions of the church touch anyone's heart, and no one lives or dies by its choices, or even feels for a moment like they might. Everything is easy as pie. In the church that doesn't matter, no one has to ask for money, or even talk about it much. There's always enough to go around. There is always enough because no matter how much there is always less to do with it than that. The vision always shrinks to undermatch the means. So canvas season is always a breeze. In the church that doesn't matter, no one ever disagrees with the preacher's sermon. The music is always just fine. There is never a fight about the liturgy, not even if they do joys and sorrows. Not even if they stop doing joys and sorrows. There is never any controversy because no one ever says anything they really care about, and no one else ever seems to care. And so the service is always equally inoffensive at both 9 o'clock and 11. No one ever has to clean up in the church that doesn't matter, or figure out the old electrical system, or consult the building codes, or climb a ladder. If no one bothers to make coffee on Sunday, no one complains. And if no one greets the visitors, no one seems to mind. Everything is easier in the church that doesn't matter. The total solution to all the frustrations of congregational life requires no consultants, manuals, or webinars. Simply avoid, at all costs, meaning and purpose, and anything that might lead you to either or both. Whatever you do, do not let yourself care about the people around you or the covenant you share. Yet, knowing this, we still decide again and again to ask tough questions, take real risks, do work that needs doing, and tell the truth. We get out of bed on Sunday morning, answer that email, make something for the bake sale, and give our time and attention to a meeting every third Thursday. We ask each other how we're doing and mean it. We make phone calls and craft projects for the first grade class. We offer gifts, both humble and great. And we do these things, sometimes in joy and sometimes not in joy, because they are done in service of a church that matters. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Probably the most famous line from Romeo and Juliet. The essence of the rose is not in its name. The essence is in the layers of its soft petals, the sweetness of its smell, its beauty amidst the thorns. But rose says all of that to us because the name conjures up all the other elements in our mind. And more, because a rose has become a symbol for love. We give red roses on Valentine's Day, and a yellow rose means friendship. We know these things even though we don't remember when we learned them. We are steeped in symbolism, and symbols are important. Symbols allow the abstract to be depicted. Symbols express and represent ideas and qualities. Symbols allow us to communicate quickly and across language barriers. We stop at stop signs and find the exit even in foreign countries because there are symbols that we can easily recognize. These were factors in how the flaming chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, came to be. We were in need of a symbol that could express a message quickly and be understood across languages. We needed a symbol that would give weight and stature to our messages. You see, in the beginning, it was a matter of life and death. Our symbol came to be in Europe during World War II. In Eastern Europe, Jews, gays, Unitarians, and others were being rounded up, disappeared, imprisoned, and killed by the Nazis. The United States was slow to get involved in the war, but a group of concerned Unitarians came together in Boston to form the Unitarian Service Committee. Their plan and their purpose was to help people in danger to escape Europe. The director of the service committee was the Unitarian minister, Charles Joy. Reverend Joy established an office in Portugal so that he would be nearer the people he wanted to help. He was in charge of a whole underground network of agents and messengers who worked at trying to find safe routes of escape. Reverend Joy and his assistants sent messages to anyone who might give them money, transportation, or a safe route. Because they were a new organization, though not very many people had heard of them. This made it much harder to get the resources and build the relationships they needed. Often the people who were escaping and the people who wanted to help didn't speak the same language. Reverend Joy realized it would be helpful if the service committee had an official symbol to help identify its members and messages. So Reverend Joy began to look for an artist. He found an Austrian refugee named Hans Deutsch. He asked Deutsch to create a symbol to print on service committee papers to make them look important. In addition to wanting a symbol that would signify to refugees that they had found help, he wanted the symbol to impress governments and police who had the power to help move people to safety. For his drawing, Deutsch borrowed an old symbol of strength and freedom from Czechoslovakia, a chalice with a flame. His design was also inspired by the chalices of oil burned on ancient Greek and Roman altars. Reverend Joy wrote to his friends in Boston that the new symbol seemed to show the real spirit of the Unitarian religion. It showed, he said, a chalice or cup that was used for giving a healing drink to others. And it showed a flame on top of the chalice because a flame was often used to represent a spirit of helpfulness and sacrifice. And so the flaming chalice became the official symbol of the Unitarian Service Committee. It wasn't until 35 years later that the symbol was first used for the larger association on a 1976 UUA directory. But as more and more people learned about the chalice and its history, they began lighting chalices to mark the beginning of worship services. We did that this morning, as we do every Sunday. Symbols play an important role in religion across faiths. Christian sacraments are symbolic. The New and Old Testaments are full of symbolic stories. The cross is symbolic, as are the Star of David, the Wheel of Dharma, the Star and Crescent, the Pentacle, Yin and Yang. I recently read an article in a Catholic magazine about religious symbolism. It said, what makes these religious aspects symbolic is that they have multiple layers of meaning and values, which draw you to imaginatively unpack their significance. When you do this, it's called symbolic thinking, the opposite of literal-mindedness, which invites no further thought. In the spring of 2006, there was an event that some in the media likened to a religious tsunami. In India, Christians and Muslims protested by going on hunger strikes. In Mexico, believers held public prayer vigils. In the Vatican, church officials railed against heresy. And in the U.S., evangelical preachers condemned the work of Satan. What prompted these reactions? It was the May premiere of the film The Da Vinci Code. If you've seen it or read it, you know that the story delves into religious symbolism in an Indiana Jones-style adventure saga. It's hard to believe a piece of fiction caused that big of an uproar, but it did. It was playing with religious symbols. And religious symbols are deeply connected to heart and mind and faith. People feel strongly about them. I didn't think we Unitarians were in danger of being caught up in a religious tsunami over religious symbolism until the rollout last month of the new logo of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Wow. Was there ever backlash? Mostly, I might add, by UU ministers. Let me show you what all of the commotion was about. First, though, let me show you the chalice that I grew up with. This was the symbol of the UUA for many years. Remains my favorite. The two circles represent Unitarians and Universalists. More recently, it was modernized, and so for the last 10 years or so, we have been using this one. And here's the new one, which is causing all of the fuss. Here's an excerpt from the letter that our denominational president, Reverend Peter Morales, sent out with the new logo. Dear friends, the Unitarian Universalist Association is making changes to where we do our work, how we do our work, and how we tell the story of our Unitarian Universalist movement to the wider world. The dramatic shifts in today's religious landscape demanded that UUA leadership take an in-depth look at our strategic communications and how effectively our voice is breaking through the competing noise of our high-tech society. We examined our core values, our unique personality as a faith, and the impact Unitarian Universalists hope to make in the world. Our new logo for many will be the first introduction to who we are. It's meant to entice a person to learn more, and it's doing just that. Our random testing groups of UUs and non-UUs described emotions and images evoked by this logo with such words as brave, enlightening, warm, spiritual, energizing, having integrity, welcoming, and determined. Our logo is the first innovation among many that the UUA plans to implement to better tell our story. Brave, enlightening, warm, spiritual. These choice words are not the ones my colleagues are using, by the way. Upon receipt of the letter, their blogs exploded. My colleague Vicki Weinstein compared the new design to an Ottoman tulip. My colleague Steve Cook wrote, "I think this has even less power than any of the earlier iterations of the Flaming Chalice. It's still a complete mystery to anyone not already in the club. But now we first have to explain that it's supposed to be a flame in a bowl before we then go on to explain why a flame in a bowl should have any particular significance anyway. Oh, and the big curvy things that look like what? They're the letter U, see? I suspect," he wrote, "we've just made ourselves even a little more obscure than we already were." Another minister wrote, "I'm sure we will have another new logo in the next 5 years or so, so if you hate this one, just be patient." He must be from New England. And I loved how he signed his note. "As always, trying to honor our past while loving the dawning future more. In faith and support, Reverend Sparky." My colleague, Reverend Tom Shade, wrote a poem entitled, "Behold the New Logo." The new logo will be a screen upon which UUs will project all of their frustrations about how we think we are perceived in the wider world. It will also be the symbol of everything UUs think is wrong with the way the association is governed. It will be seen as a symbol of everything UU to everybody UU. If you think we are too fuddy-duddy, then you see it as fuddy-duddy. If you think we try too hard to be hip, then that is what you will see. Behold the new logo. You read it. It reads you. I was relieved when Vicki added to her tulip comment. She went on to make an important distinction between a symbol and a logo. Logos and symbols are two different entities, she said. But in this latest controversy, they are being conflated. A logo is not a symbol. It is a particular iteration of a symbol or set of values that communicates an organization's identity in one design element. In the Theodore Parker language of the transient and the permanent, the logo is transient. The symbol is the permanent. Although I'm a little disheartened by the tenor of the conversation, in general, I think it's exciting to hear our symbolism being debated. It means that we are thinking deeply about who we are and what we want to hold up to the world about our faith. Examining symbolism as a community can challenge us to stay true to its meaning. T.S. Eliot wrote, "Any religion is forever in danger of putrefaction into mere ritual and habit, though ritual and habit be essential to religion." I love the ritual of lighting our chalice each morning, but I want it to mean something. In the most recent issue of UU World magazine, there was an article by humanitarian aid worker Erica Nonkin. Erica, along with her wife, has lived in Australia, Costa Rica, Haiti, Zambia, Cambodia, and Thailand. They were both raised UU, and working as international aid workers is to them the purest embodiment of their UU values. And it has brought them to places of challenge and heartbreak. Erica wrote her article from a Thai refugee center, where she was struggling to understand the humanity of a uniformed guard who had been abusing her students with impunity. She writes, "His evil is all the more devastating because I don't believe in the devil." How could her Unitarian Universalist faith and beliefs help her in this situation, she wondered. Unitarian Universalism is very clear on the foundations of human interactions, she wrote, but to say I found it hard to respect his inherent worth and dignity is a vast understatement. I felt that Unitarian Universalism had propelled me down the path to where I stood in that moment, but left me bereft of the spiritual tools I needed to cope with it. While Erica wrestled deeply with her theology, she found comfort in a familiar symbol, the flaming chalice. Erica and her wife are members of the Church of the Larger Fellowship, which is the global online congregation for isolated and transient UUs around the world. Its website has a digital chalice, which you can click to light. At first, she rolled her eyes at the idea. But later, she wrote, "I returned to that website for fellowship, sometimes staring at the flickering GIF for hours. My wife, too, kept the chalice open in the corner of her monitor as she pursued her work dismantling human trafficking. It was a balm, a necessary reminder of people who shared our values, helping us to center on our motivation and the importance of our work." Unitarian Universalism is not a perfect faith. Like all faiths, it sometimes leaves us empty-handed when wrestling with our deepest theological questions in the face of great despair and violence. But like other faiths, it offers some comfort in those moments too. Touchstones to recenter ourselves with, community to cry with, and to hold us, strength to carry on, and hope that together we can make this world a better place. And our symbols help us to remember that. Yes, our chalice is very important, but not because of how it looks in this one particular moment in time as our denomination's logo. It's important, like all symbols are important, because of what it points to, our faith in action. When Hans Deutsch designed the flaming chalice, he had never been to one of our worship services, but he had seen us in action. He had seen Unitarians living out their faith, and that is what inspired him. And that is what I hope can energize and inspire us today. Our tangible expressions of love, justice, and peace in a church that matters. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.